Hey guys, I'm Alice Tang, and I'm going to be presenting with Kailash and Alice on options that high schoolers have after high school, talking about four-year colleges as well as other options such as community college and trade school. And our presentation is brought to you by our sponsors, Chipotle, Bon Appetit, and Insomnia Cookies. So why pursue higher education in the first place after high school? Well, one of the main reasons is that it provides opportunity for financial growth. So many jobs now require a degree in some form in order for you to be qualified and competitive for the job. So in order for you to even get a job in the first place, you'll need to have some kind of degree. And as well as in the future, if you have a higher degree, such as a graduate degree from a graduate school, or maybe a professional degree, such as an MD or a law degree, you can even pursue higher paths of education as well as get promoted quicker in your field. So if you go to grad school and pursue a PhD, you'll more likely be able to progress in your career path than other people. And the second main reason for pursuing higher education is to improve your quality of life in general. If you go to college, you'll be able to meet tons of people and experience a lot of new things that will ultimately prepare you for life. And the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself and your knowledge. So this graphic, which is on the screen, shows the average salary of a person who has a specific degree. So as you can see, a person with a high school diploma earns about $33,000 a year on average. And as you obtain higher levels of education, you can see that the salary goes up.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about not only four-year colleges, but community college as well as trade school and apprenticeships. So we're going to begin by talking about four-year colleges, and four-year colleges can be broken down into a couple categories. We're going to begin by elaborating on public schools and private schools. So public schools are funded by the state, and this means that if you are from the state that you go to college in, you will get something called in-state tuition, which will mean that you will pay a lot less for college. We're going to elaborate a lot more on the financials later on in the videos. In terms of the other option, which is private, these schools are privately funded, and this leads to tuition being higher. Some examples of this are University of Pennsylvania, Drexel, and Carnegie Mellon, just in Pennsylvania itself. So another way we're going to break it down is probably a more meaningful way, which is large schools versus small schools. And this is a spectrum, really. There's no set scale for this in terms of where a small school is cut off and a large school starts, but these are more just generalizations about schools. So larger schools tend to have more lecture-based classes, more just sitting there taking notes type of classes, versus smaller schools, which are more interactive classes. And you, in class, you're more discussion-based kind of feeling. This is not to say that at a large school you cannot find a small class, and at a smaller school you can't find a more note-intensive class. So it really comes down to which learning style you're more comfortable with, and you can usually find your place at either a large school or a small school when it comes to this. In terms of majors, large schools offer a larger variety of majors, but small schools can be more flexible. At some small schools you can even create your own major with your academic advisor, so you can really study whatever you want to study. Extracurriculars, at large schools you get a greater variety, but at the same time there's a lot more competition for being involved in extracurriculars. At a smaller school, there's less competition to be involved in like a play or whatever else you might want to get involved in, purely because there are less people trying to get involved in these different activities. Similar to extracurriculars in terms of just opportunities such as research opportunities or study abroad or anything along those lines, you're going to have a greater variety at large schools, but at the same time there's going to be more competition, meaning that at smaller schools you will be able to have more access to these opportunities. Resources go along the same lines in that large schools come with a great amount of resources, but you're competing with other students for these resources. One of the more meaningful breakdowns between large schools and small schools is the social dynamic. So at a large school, it's less likely that you're going to know everybody in your class, or when you're walking around campus, you're going to know everybody you see. And this leads to a small fish in a big pond kind of feeling, which some people like in terms of just not having to say hi to every person you walk by or anything like that. And you'll definitely be able to find friends no problem no matter where you end up. It's more whether you like the familiarity that comes with a small school. And in terms of sports, large schools have a big sports culture that tends to go along with them, especially these big state schools. In terms of there's a lot of social events that revolve around going to football games, basketball games, that kind of thing, and activities involved like homecoming revolving around those. In terms of actually competing in sports, it can be hard to make the varsity teams for large schools purely because the talent level and the competition is so high. But large schools offer club sports as well as intramural sports in great quantities and great variety. Smaller schools, it can be easier to make varsity teams, and smaller schools also offer club sports and intramural sports. So either way, you'll be able to get involved if you would want to get involved. But overall, the most important thing is the feel of the campus and the feel of the people in the community around it. So I would highly encourage, if you're considering going to a place, going to the campus and meeting the people there. You can get a great sense of the campus and the school just by talking to people and walking around. And that's probably a better metric than any of the ones I just talked about. So these are some majors on the screen that you might be interested in. There is obviously a wide spectrum, and these are not all the majors that are offered. There are so many more that are offered at both big schools and small schools. What it really comes down to is the fact that you need to find what you're interested in majoring in order to make a more informed decision when it comes to college, because some schools specialize in engineering or business, and other schools specialize in arts and sciences and that kind of thing. So if you know where you want to focus your energy, it can make your decision a lot easier. If you don't, liberal arts colleges are also a great option. They provide a more full circle of learning for people who are still trying to figure out what they're interested in majoring in.
So other than traditional four-year colleges, there are also other four-year institutions that are more specialized. So like Kailash mentioned earlier, he touched on it a bit, are liberal arts colleges. So these focus more on a holistic education and learning, not just history and language and English, but also more broad spectrum of training in math and science as well. And there are also other schools that are tech-focused universities. I'm sure you've heard of a few of them, just like Virginia Tech, that are more focused on engineering and the technology sector. Other specialized colleges include arts colleges. These tend to focus on visual arts, graphic design, sculpture, painting, and instead of getting a traditional education in the form of you learn multiple subjects, you're just specifically training for a discipline in the arts. And the application process is a bit different. So if you're planning on applying to art schools, make sure you check on their websites for deadlines, as well as you probably will have to send in a portfolio with your work in order to be considered. Other institutions include religiously affiliated colleges, and these can vary from on a wide spectrum. So some people may attend these colleges because of tradition. Maybe their family members have done so in the past. And they tend to have part of their college curriculum dedicated to worship. So other than your traditional education classes, you will have to dedicate part of your curriculum to spiritual kind of endeavors. And on the other more extreme end on the spectrum, these kind of schools are also for students who want to become ministers or rabbis and more involved in their religions. And lastly, the two specialized colleges that are left on the screen are historically black colleges and Hispanic serving institutions. And these focus on bringing together communities of similar individuals and empowering them. There's also a lot of scholarships available to these groups, And that's not to say that these universities consist of only blacks or Hispanics, but they bring together a lot of people who share a common interest. So another institution or higher education institution that you can pursue after high school is trade and vocational schools. And these are especially for people who really know what they want to do as a career. So some examples of careers include in informational technology, in healthcare, such as a medical assistant or technician, culinary arts for people who want to be chefs, or automotive technology. And these usually involve about 1 to 2 years of hands-on training and education. So besides getting a traditional kind of classroom experience, you also go out kind of into the industry and learn hands-on about what you're actually going to do in your career. And tuition can be as high as $30,000, but it really depends on the program you're in, what you're learning, and what state that your school is in. But trade schools also offer financial aid and scholarships, so this cost can be alleviated. And at the end of your training, you will obtain a certificate or associate's degree. And an example on the screen, as you can see, an example of trade or vocational school is Lincoln Technical Institute, which is in Philadelphia.
All right, so another option is community college. So community college only lasts 2 years, and you obtain an associate's degree after these 2 years. So there are a couple benefits to attending a community college. The first being the flexible scheduling of classes and that kind of thing. You can take classes online, you can take classes at night. So what this means is that you could be working a job during the day and still getting an education at night. Another benefit to community college is that after you obtain this associate's degree, you could then move on and transfer your credits from community college onto a four-year institution. And in just 2 years at a four-year institution, you could obtain a bachelor's degree from a university such as Rutgers in New Jersey. So the last benefit of community college is that it's a lot more cost effective than a four-year college route. You don't have to worry about room and board because typically you're taking that close to where you live and you're not worrying about dorms or that kind of thing. And because of this, it can be an effective route to go to a four-year college, but cut the cost significantly just by going to a community college for 2 of those years. So in summary, we've talked about four-year colleges. So four-year colleges are going to be giving you the most traditional college experience in that you'll be living on campus. There are lots of extracurriculars and clubs to get involved in, as well as different research opportunities, Greek life, and more formalized sports teams. Classroom experience and that kind of thing can really vary based purely on the size of the school that you choose to attend. For community college, typically you're not living on campus, but there's very flexible timing in terms of the scheduling of these classes. So you can work a job during the day and then go to school at night. Another advantage to community college is that you can transfer your credits after 2 years, so it can be a more cost-effective approach to going to a four-year college. The other option is that you can obtain an associate's degree from a community college in 2 years, and this will be a more direct path into the workforce. The community colleges also offer a smaller class size, so it's a more interactive learning environment. Finally, trade schools offer the opportunity to really focus in on the career area that you're interested in. So if you already know that you want to do something that can be attained by a trade school, then you're pretty set. It takes 2 to 3 years for a trade school, and it's very hands-on learning and similar to community college in that you're not living on campus necessarily and you don't have quite the same extracurricular opportunities. But you have flexible courses so you can take it on your own time and make that work for you. So other than the options we discussed being community colleges, four-year colleges, and trade schools, there are a couple other options, such as joining the military. You can take advantage of the GI Bill, which basically provides the government provides you with money to go to school. So if you're enrolled in the military for 90 days, they'll pay for 40% of your college tuition. If you're involved, or if you're enrolled in the college for 30 consecutive months, they'll pay for your entire college tuition. So you don't even have to be in the military when you're going to college. You can be enrolled in the military for a little bit, and then you can, after you're done with the military, you can take advantage of the GI Bill still, and the government will pay for you to go to school. So this is a good opportunity if, one, you're interested in joining the military period, or two, if you're trying to find a way that you won't have to pay for college. Another option, which is kind of similar to a trade school, is an apprenticeship. So an apprenticeship is where you basically tag along with somebody who's already in the career field that you're interested in. It typically takes 4 years, but it ranges from 1 to 6 years. And you get paid to do this, actually, while you're learning. So that is a major advantage of being an apprentice. The outcomes once you obtain your apprenticeship are actually very good financially.
Okay, to provide a more brief summary, the overall goals, I'm going to summarize the overall goals of each of these options that we've outlined. So for four-year colleges, the degree you're ultimately going to obtain is a bachelor's degree. And these are for students who maybe want a career that requires a bachelor's degree or want to go to graduate school to obtain a higher degree. And tuition will range from about $10,000 to the mid $50,000s each year, depending on what kind of school you go to, like Kailash mentioned, public or private or large or small. And then from community college, you'll obtain a certificate's or associate's degree. And usually the goal of going to community college will be to raise your GPA or save money to eventually attend a four-year university, or take a more career-oriented pathway that will transfer directly into a career in the industry. And tuition is usually a lot cheaper, and averaging around $3,000, and that can also fluctuate depending on what state you're in and if they cover your tuition. And lastly, for trade schools, the degree you get is also a certificate and associate's degree, but the way that this differs from community colleges is that it's offering training for a very specific industry or career. So if you're a student that's sure of what you want to do, this would be a good option for you. And tuition is a bit more expensive than community college, but cheaper than a four-year college, and ranges from $8,000 to about $20,000 for the whole 1 to 2 years you're going to be in trade school. So, thank you for watching.